Most of us understand the relationship between diet and health, but we are flooded with seductive ads that very successfully tempt us to go ahead and have that burger anyway, and double up on the fries. The result? A supersized epidemic of obesity and type 2 diabetes, costing the American public billions each year. So today, we have the opportunity to mend our ways. Dr. Ted Barnett, whose email handle is Dr. Veggie, is here to point the way to good health. Dr. Barnett is board certified in diagnostic imaging and vascular and interventional radiology and has been practicing in the Rochester area for over 25 years. He and his wife, Carol, have been coordinators of the Rochester Area Vegetarian Society for 15 years. Dr. Barnett.
Thank you very much, Sam. It's great to be here. And I'm going to perform a little experiment on this audience because I can't really give my talk without looking at my slides. And there's a little monitor up there which is really tiny, and I don't think I can read it from there. So after you've read the first slide, I think I hit...
You made her go off the microphone and walk to the floor as you wish.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, I actually got this microphone. Can you turn this one on? Oh, it's on. Good. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. That's the experiment. So don't go away. I'm appearing in front of you now. All right. So as Sam said, I am kind of a high-tech doctor, an interventional radiologist. And there's the title of my talk. I'm okay right here? All right.
You're just fine. Just please keep the microphone near your mouth.
Near my mouth. Okay. And then I'm going to push this button, and it's working. Okay, so whenever you give a medical talk, you always have to give full disclosure. So because we all have biases, right? So in the stock, Tofuti, I own stock in Tofuti. It's not doing very well. Do me a favor. Can you eat more Tofuti, please? Thank you. Okay, so my wife and I, as Sam said, we've been the coordinators of the Rochester Area Vegetarian Society for quite a while. And I keep pushing this. There we go. And we've been vegan for over 22 years. And during that time, we've managed to raise 3 children, all of whom came out relatively healthy. And I'm also a bird photographer, so I just like to throw these in once in a while, just add a little meaning. So let me tell you about something called the Ag, Gag, or Veggie Libel laws. Anybody heard of those? Okay. So there are 13 states in the country, and there's a list of them up there, that have adopted some form of a food disparagement law under pressure from the meat, dairy, and agricultural lobbyists. What does that mean? These laws make it easier for food producers to hold individuals liable for criticizing their products. Okay? So try taking on the big corporations with when you're being attacked by them. They also allow the food business plaintiff to collect punitive damages and attorney's fees against the defendant, in addition to any economic damages that stem from the defendant's statement. So who was one of the victims of that? Oprah, right? She was attacked by the Texas Cattlemen Association when Howard Lyman, who's a former cattle rancher from Montana, was talking about the dangers of mad cow disease. And Oprah said, that does it, I'll never eat another hamburger. And guess what? Cattle futures plummeted the next day. So they wanted their money back on all their cattle futures, right? And in fact, that was when we were feeding animals to animals. And the reason that mad cow disease was spreading throughout the country was because we were grinding up cows who had mad cow disease, which is caused by prions, which can't be sterilized, and giving it to other cows. Crazy, huh? I didn't make that up. So the judge who threw out the case against Oprah Winfrey stated, it would be difficult to conceive of any topic of discussion that could be of greater concern and interest to all Americans than the safety of the food that they eat. I would have to agree with that. So, changing topics here. How is Safeway cutting healthcare costs? Well, I'm not sure they really are cutting healthcare costs, but without actually on the backs of their workers. But one of the things that their CEO did say was that 70% of all healthcare costs are the direct result of behavior. Okay? So, and the second insight, which is well understood by the providers of healthcare, is that 74% of all costs are confined to 4 chronic conditions: cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and obesity. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about diseases that we don't have to get, and they're bankrupting our country. And here's an ad for Lipitor. How many here? I'm not going to ask, but I'm sure a lot of people here are on Lipitor. It's one of the most popular drugs on the planet. It's a huge profit maker for the company that makes it, which I can't remember at the moment. Pfizer, thank you. And so a lot of people think that they can lower their cholesterol with healthy diet and exercise. But you may be kidding yourself. Don't kid yourself. You need Lipitor. Huh? Okay, who knows what kind of bird that is? It is an American tree sparrow in my backyard. So this is what I tell healthcare professionals. Eat a whole foods, plant-based diet with minimal added oils. Get lots of exercise outside if possible. Be skeptical of any supplements. I very rarely recommend any supplements. I think the only thing that people should take is B12 and vitamin D. We all need vitamin D because we don't get enough sunshine. Push the button. And you be skeptical of yourself because you want to know what your own motivations are. Do you gain financially from what you advocate? Always ask, are we doing more good than harm? And there's a Latin term for that doctors use, right? Primum non nocere. Our goal should be to empower patients so much that they don't need us anymore. So what kind of a group would that be, right? What profession, how many professions can you name that should be trying to put themselves out of business? That's our goal, but it's not a very good business model, is it? So this is what I tell other doctors. What you are about to learn should not leave this room. Use this information to save your own life and the lives of your friends and family. Do not share this with patients. It would be very bad for business. Right? So, whoops, hang on. Oh well, I skipped the whole slide there. That's all right. It happens. So those are slides that are kind of an introduction to a talk that I often give about the history of dietary recommendations, and it's also the first talk in a series of 6. This is a plug I'm giving. I don't get any money out of this, but my wife and I have been giving a course on plant-based nutrition. We've done it twice so far. It's a 6-week course. We did it at the JCC, and we'll be doing it again in April if you're interested. And all the money we make is donated to charity. So I just want to show you this. This is, how many people have seen this map? Okay, so this is from the CDC. Another thing, I'm not making it up. This is 1985. The CDC made it up. It shows the rates of obesity in the country by state. And the white states, there's no data, but they're going to fill in as we go along. We're going to advance year by year here. And the blue states have a 10 to 14% obesity rate, and the light blue states have a less than 10% obesity rate. So I'm just going to go through this. If my button will work, there's 86, there's 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. We had to add a new category in 1991. It's 15 to 19% obesity rates. 92, 93. Button's not working. 94, 95, 96. 97, we had to add a new category. Greater than 20% obesity. 98, 99, 2000. 2001, we added another category. Greater than 25% of those people are obese in that particular state, which I won't ask you to name. But it goes on. 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, we added another category, greater than 30% obesity rate. And it goes on and on and on and on. And there we have a little summary. So we have an epidemic in this country, and it hasn't been going on that long. So I think we do have a dietary mess in our hands. But here's an economic fact. Americans eat too much, right? American agriculture produces more calories than we need, and Americans eat too much. It's not just calories, we eat the wrong things, but it's mostly about eating too much. And Americans must cut back on consumption to regain their health. So what do you think industry is going to say? Any industry confronted with a recommendation to reduce the use or consumption of its products will fight back using any means at its disposal. Right? This does not mean they're evil, it's just the way things are. They have to make a living too. Oh, okay, maybe they are a little bit evil. That was supposed to slide up at the end there. There we go, okay. I'm having trouble with the clicker. All right, and this is the result. This is what happens, right? That's our future. So who am I and why should you bother believing me? Well, I do have some credits. I did go to Yale. I know it's not so great to some people. I went to Tufts Medical School in 1980. I graduated. I had my board certification in diagnostic radiology in 1984. And in 1995, I took and passed the first examination in vascular and interventional radiology, and I had to renew that in 2004. So I have to take the test again in a couple of years. I'm studying right now. I've also worked in 9 states, 2 countries, and dozens of hospitals because I can't hold a job. And I was the chief of, well, this is a job I held for 16 years. I was the chief of diagnostic imaging at Thompson Hospital in Canandaigua until 2006, and that was 16 years. So I've also raised 3 vegan children, which is probably, which is obviously the most important thing I've done. And I think gives me a little credibility because it did work out. Actually, I have to give my wife most of the credit for that, but in fact, all of it. I also did publish, because you got to publish, otherwise you perish, right? So this was 2009. I don't know if you recognize, the second name is Neil Barnett. He's from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and we published an article on a guy who got sick on the Atkins diet. So that's just because you got to have some credibility, right? And then also, this is another darn. Hey, that one worked. Yes. Just like it's supposed to. So another reason to trust me. Come on, button. There we go. So I eat a lot. In fact, I'm hungry right now. Okay, so you would think if you went to the American Heart Association website, you would get honest, unbiased information about your heart, right? So you go to this webpage, it's called Fats 101, and you want to learn about fats, because you hear a lot about fats and heart disease, right? So you find out that this webpage, however, is supported, it's sponsored by canolainfo.org. Now you can argue that some oils are better for you than others. There's, people say olive oil, canola oil. The truth is, no oil is healthy. Some oils are less harmful than others. Canola oil and olive oil happen to be less harmful than other oils, but you don't need oil in your diet. There's plenty of fat in whole foods. You don't have to add it. So anyway, you're an honest citizen, and you think, well, look, if I can just click there, I can find out about canolainfo.org, and maybe I can learn some recipes. So look, there's a recipe for an antioxidant smoothie, and guess what? It has 2 teaspoons of canola oil, which makes this recipe 35% calories from fat. Okay, and we know that if you want to prevent or reverse heart disease, you need to get under 20%, preferably down around 10% of your calories from fat. But they sponsor the webpage of the American Heart Association. That's canolainfo.org and canola oil. Come on, button, do it. Here we go. So who said this? Begin with the end in mind. Anybody recognize that? Anybody here in business? Stephen Covey, right. Yeah, that's right. From that was habit number 2 of the 7 habits of highly effective people. So what exactly is the goal of nutritional advice? Because we get advice from the USDA, right, and other organizations. Is it to help people live long, happy, and healthy lives? Or is it to increase profits for industry? Well, we're going to find out, right? If my clicker will work. There we go. Who said this? If you don't know where you are going, you might end up someplace else. Anybody know? Come on, baseball player, Yogi Berra, right? Okay. My favorite, my hero. You might end up with the standard American diet or the SAD diet, which is what we're on. So, come on, clicker. So how many of us really examine the effects of what we do? I mean, it isn't, when Howard Lyman, who I mentioned in an earlier slide, is the cattle rancher from Montana. He says when you point your finger at someone else, you're pointing 3 fingers back at yourself. And truthfully, we're all part of this system. But, so what are the goals of nutritional advice? Is it longevity, happiness, vigorousness? That's what I would think. So who said this? You can observe a lot just by watching. Yeah, it's Yogi Berra again. Uh-oh. The buttons, now all of a sudden they went. Okay, this is not some secret conspiracy. The signs are obvious, the tragedy is playing out in plain sight, and the loudest voices telling us how to eat have lots of money at stake. Corporations and industry are behaving just as you would expect. So let's look at a lobbying group. It's called the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives, and in 2010, don't worry, you don't have to read that whole slide. Every 5 years, the U.S. government comes out with a new set of dietary guidelines, and they ask for comments from groups and organizations, people with interest. So, what did the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives say? They said NCFC will continue to advocate for policy based on sound science and, as such, to increase consumption of all forms of fruits and vegetables, nuts, milk, and milk products, whole grains, and meat. Did they leave anything out? No. But I thought we needed to eat less, right? We need to eat less, but we're telling we have to eat more. We're already too fat. What else did they say? They said, it is also concerning that by pairing the statement above with the recommendation to shift food intake, government actually recommend one thing while supporting something else? Not possible, right? So why does a salad cost more than a Big Mac? All right, look at the one on the left, shows where all the subsidies go. Meat and dairy get 74% of the subsidies. What do vegetables and fruits get? 0.4%. What do we tell people they should eat? Grains, vegetables, fruits, and okay? You got meat up toward the top there. So we're telling people one thing, but we're supporting something else. I'll let you take a look at that. So this is an article in the New York Times. This is how to make a pizza, right? Cheese isn't already greasy enough. There's not enough fat in cheese. We've got to pour oil on top of it. So look, a government-created industry group worked with Domino's Pizza to bolster sales by increasing the cheese on pies. So, because people don't eat enough cheese, right? So what's the name of that group? It's called the Dairy Management, Inc. It's kind of an association, the American Dairy Association, National Dairy Council, U.S. Dairy Export Council. And it's their claim on their website is the Dairy Checkoff Program was created by farmers for farmers and is funded by Americans' dairy farm families. Notice they use the term families there. And only by dairy farmers. It does not use any government or taxpayer dollars to promote dairy products in the United States. I think if you parse that sentence, maybe it's because they promote dairy products in other parts of the world. I'm not sure. But the truth is, dairy management was created by the USDA. And in its report to Congress, the Agriculture Department tallies dairy management's successes in millions of pounds of cheese. So who are the industry groups with input at the USDA, which, as I said before, is the lead agency for promulgating dietary recommendations, which if I had more time, I'd go into all those recommendations, but I'm trying to keep us under 15 minutes here. So they are Dannon, National Dairy Council, National Dairy Promotion and Research Board, Mead Johnson, Nestle, Slim Fast, the American Egg Board. Come on, clicker, do your thing. The American Meat Institute, National Livestock and Beef Board, and of course there's one that's missing, right? Where's the healthy whole food stuff? It's not there. These are all the sort of the value-added, high-profit stuff. So what about the Institute of Medicine? You wouldn't think that they could be influenced by industry, would you? So they put out every 10 years or so, they put out their own recommendations. And they're talking about minimizing the risk for chronic disease, and they're telling how, what percentage of your calories should come from fat, protein, carbohydrate. And they also tell you that added sugar should comprise no more than 25% of total calories consumed. Notice that number? 25%. Added sugars are those incorporated into foods and beverages during production, and major sources includes candy, soft drinks, food. So think about these kids, right? Go ahead, right? And the World Health Organization says you should keep it under 10%, which is pretty high too. Okay? So there's 25%. And how much is that? Let's get my clicker here. That would be 33 teaspoons of sugar every day if you were on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. And yes, the lobbyists did get to those people. The sugar lobby is actually very powerful. Strangely enough, the salt lobby is pretty powerful too, and they don't like the limitations on salt, but I don't have time to go into that. So if you followed their recommendations, that's the Food and Nutrition Board, that's the Institute of Medicine, this would be an acceptable menu. For breakfast, you could have a cup of Fruit Loops, a cup of skim milk, a package of M&M's, milk chocolate candies, fiber and vitamin supplement, grilled cheddar cheeseburger, 3 slices pepperoni pizza. You got the message, right? Okay? That would be acceptable. And the total calories would be 1,800, that's okay. Calories from fat, 31%. because they say 20 to 35% is allowable, even though we know if you want to reverse heart disease, you have to get your fat intake below 20%. The studies have shown that. Calories from sugar is only 23%. So how does this minimize the risk of chronic disease? It doesn't. Because what you need to understand is that humans do best on a whole foods, plant-based diet. And whole foods does not mean these fractionated foods up on the left there. So the USDA did actually improve a little bit, right? Because they went from My Pyramid, which was a complete mystery, it doesn't even have any food on it, on the left, that was 2005, to just 2011 they came out with My Plate. And actually, that is progress. If you look at it, there's no animal product mentioned on there except for the optional dairy, which we can get rid of, right? So just eat off that. You've got vegetables, fruits, grains, and protein. And the truth is you can take the protein group off that because all the other ones have plenty of protein, which I'm going to show you later. So the USDA is moving in the right direction, and we can see where they're headed. Why wait for the next set of guidelines? But the USDA just can't get over dairy because look, even on their website, 2010, in their recent dietary guidelines, they refer to lactose intolerance as a deficiency of the enzyme lactase, which makes it impossible to drink milk. But 75% of adults on the planet have a lactase deficiency or cannot tolerate milk, which kind of makes sense if you're an adult and you've been weaned. Wait a minute. Here we go. Perhaps producing lactase after weaning is the real deficiency. So, is there any good evidence that increasing dairy intake will prevent or treat osteoporosis? Anybody know of any studies? Nope, none, zero. You would think that that's not true but even the FTC has told the dairy industry they can't claim that. One would think that with all the emphasis on dairy, scientific studies would overwhelmingly demonstrate a benefit of dairy to dairy consumption, but they don't. No benefit to dairy consumption, only harm. So why do we recommend dairy? Did Homo sapiens really evolve to be dependent on the milk of another species? Can you name another mammal that is dependent on milk after weaning? Why did the dairy intake recommendation jump 50% in 2005? I'm not making this up, okay? It used to be you were supposed to get 2 cups of dairy. In 2005, they went to 3 cups, a 50% jump. Not bad for the industry, right? Why dairy? It's high in saturated fat. Many people are lactose intolerant. In fact, 75% of adults on the planet are lactose intolerant. There's no evidence that dairy can help prevent osteoporosis. Maybe somebody at USDA got lobbied. So look, let's go to the Wall Street Journal, which as we all know is a liberal rag. You really can't believe it anyway. This is an article from August 30th, 2004. Remember I told you the recommendation went up that in 2005? So it's a major victory for the $50 billion US dairy industry. It attributed the 50% increase in recommended dairy savings to skillful lobbying based on research funded by the National Dairy Council as well as the financial ties of several members of the advisory committee to dairy trade groups. So this is the Wall Street Journal saying, listen guys, this is how you do it. This is how you lobby, right? This is a success story. This thing just turned red. Is there a reason for that? The battery's going dead? Oh, just don't worry about it? Oh, I'm running out of time? Oh, okay. It couldn't happen here. All right. Okay. So let's go to the Pittsburgh, New York High School cafeteria. So look, this is on the wall of the cafeteria. Break records, not bones. Okay, this is the Milk Mustache campaign. We're telling our kids you're not getting enough milk, right? That's all over the place. But there's some good people at the USDA. I need about 4 more minutes. I can do this, all right? So this was a newsletter that came out July 23rd, 2012. And there's their food service update. You don't have to read that, but they said one simple way, this is not to the internal memo, this is just to their own workers. One simple way to reduce your environmental impact while dining at our cafeterias is to participate in the Meatless Monday initiative. Meatless Monday is an initiative of the Monday campaign. Okay, Johns Hopkins. Okay, so how will going meatless one day of the week help the environment? Well, the production of meat, especially beef and dairy, has a large environmental impact. You can read that. It also wastes resources, takes 7,000 kilograms of grain to make 1,000 kilograms of beef. Lots of water, fertilizer, fossil fuels, and pesticides. And at the bottom it says, because Meatless Monday involves only one day a week, it is a small change that could produce big results. Of course, it also says, while a vegetarian diet could have a beneficial impact on a person's health and environment, many people are not ready to make that commitment. But did you notice that our cafeterias have tasty meatless options? So you can really help yourself in the environment while having a good vegetarian meal, and they're just telling their workers, you know, this might be good for you. Note the data in the upper left-hand corner, July 33rd, 2012. This is July 25th, 2012. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association got word of this. Uh-oh. We're calling the Meatless Monday concept calls into question USDA's commitment to U.S. farmers and ranchers, right? Which Alexander said is an animal rights extremist campaign to ultimately end meat consumption. USDA was created to provide a platform to promote and sustain rural America, how dare you, in order to feed the world. This move by USDA should be condemned by anyone who believes agriculture is fundamental to sustaining life on this planet. And further, I'm going to just skip that because we're running out of time. So Alexander said NCBA will not remain silent as USDA turns its back on cattlemen and consumers. So what do you think happened to that internal memo? It was gone 2 days later. So remember, the USDA is the lead agency responsible for promulgating dietary recommendations in the US. How much can you trust it? So it's difficult to get a man to understand something when his job depends on not understanding. Who said that? Anybody? Close. That's Upton Sinclair, right? Okay. And he wrote the book called The Jungle. And that jungle actually was about the meatpacking industry, but it led to the creation of the FDA. So there's a connection there. So we're going to just tell you about, this is Caldwell Esselstyn, who wrote, the single biggest step to reverse heart disease would be to have United States dietary guidelines support a plant-based diet. An expert committee purged of industrial and political influence is required to assure that science is the basis for dietary recommendations, not money. So do we have time for a quick quiz? You want me to stop? I can do this in 2 more minutes. You want the quiz? Okay, the audience wants the quiz. Okay, all right, the audience wants the quiz. All right. So which of the following contains the most potassium? Because I know you all know the answer to this. Skim milk, banana, potato, cheddar cheese, or black beans? Yell it out. Okay, I think I heard someone say it before. It actually is the potato. Okay? Fruits and vegetables are all full of potassium, but you only know about bananas because that's what your doctor told you when you were on your diuretic. So, you know, it's just easy to remember, right? But the truth is, you don't have to worry about potassium if you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables. You get lots. Okay, what about the most calcium? Because you all know we need to get lots of calcium for strong bones. That's not true, but I don't have time to go into that. Okay, so what has the most calcium? A cup of milk, 2 cups of milk. All right, you guys are good. You guys are good. Let's see, the answer is the broccoli, right? You have to eat 2 cups of broccoli, which is a lot of broccoli, but you know the truth is you don't need as much calcium as we tell people you need. We tell people you need 1,200 milligrams of calcium. You probably need maybe 500 or 600 milligrams a day. So as a percentage of calories, which of the following is highest in protein? Not that it really matters, okay, because protein's not that big a deal. If you're eating whole foods, you're going to get plenty of protein. Is it the whole milk? Okay, just yell it out because we're going to keep moving here. What is it? The beans. Everyone says it's the beans. Guess what? As a percentage of, it's the broccoli. Broccoli is 44% calories from protein. So if you're worried about getting protein, eat whole foods. You only need about 10% of your calories to come from protein anyway. So as long as you're not adding sugar and fat to your diet, you won't have to worry about it. Just remember, if they can get you to ask the wrong questions, then they don't have to worry about the answers, right? So this is a vegan family, okay? 22 years, they haven't ever eaten animal, well, maybe they cheated once in a while, I don't know. But basically, they're all vegans, right? And it's worked. So remember, please do not share this with anyone. You'll put me out of business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted.